Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
Bah.
Someone's got a case of the Mondays. Bah humbug. Good morning, Ebenezer.
How are we?
Better than you, I think.
No, I'm freaking great. Welcome to 9 o'clock, Youngstown's Talk Channel. The show immediately following the massive inefficiencies of the holidays. So now we have Cyber Monday on the horizon where everybody spends their money online and buys gifts from China to sink the U.S. economy, but makes everybody so happy.
Like every other day.
Every other day.
I feel like every day is Cyber Monday now.
Yeah.
Because everybody shops online, even on Black Friday and Small Business Saturday. How many people were still shopping online?
That's right. We love our China.
Yeah.
China.
You know what I gotta admit though,
What?
and like I'm always one that's like preaching shop local and support your local economy and try to find something in a local store if you can. I went out for a little bit yesterday, just a couple of places, and I get it. I get why nobody would want to do that. Like, do you want to go into Boardman on 224 during the holiday season?
I don't.
Oh God,
Not at
it's
all.
awful. It's awful. And then you add like the whipping, freezing cold wind, the idiot drivers. And then it's honestly can be quite difficult to find what it is you need locally. It really is. So what do we do? How do we make it better?
So that's a difference between conveniently saying what you do and actually showing in the world what you're willing to do. Like the better thing is always harder. And that's why I say that we're doomed, because we're very likely to follow all of our justifications and then complaining about what we caused and trying to blame somebody else for it. That's just our pattern of human behavior.
This is true. And I saw your little, not a rant. It wasn't a rant. You didn't have a good Thanksgiving?
Why? What did I say?
On Friday?
Why,
I don't know. You're just like, oh, I'm the only one here and everybody's got to be thankful for 2 days in a row. And I said something to my family on Thanksgiving one time and now I don't host Thanksgiving anymore.
Well, no, that was celebration for me.
Oh.
Yeah, that was I was not mad about that. That was just telling a story about something that occurred, and it was brilliant in its design, and now I don't have to host Thanksgiving. There's downside to that. When you don't host Thanksgiving, there are no leftovers. People don't dole out the leftovers to people who just show up. So when I have a cold turkey sandwich the next day, I'm like, fuck. Like, if I'd hosted, I'd have that thing. So I got to give up the cold turkey sandwich for that.
We hosted to no one. Well, I take that back. My father-in-law came. But everybody got sick. Everybody who was coming got sick. Yeah. And we found out 1 hour before they were all supposed to arrive. So we had a lot of leftovers.
More leftovers for you.
Yeah.
That's a win.
It was like lunch. It was dinner. It was lunch the next day.
Didn't have to have conversations with people where it would just be mindless drivel that you've heard a million times.
Why do you think that?
Wouldn't have to have like people bringing their germs in and wiping their shoes all over your pristine carpet. People,
why does that have to happen?
People like smelling and bringing their, stuff that's on their clothes, like their pet dander and piss. Like all of that was a benefit, not a downside.
What kind of Thanksgivings have you had in the past?
All right, you're in denial. That's okay though. You must like bringing other people into your world, and I acknowledge that. I don't appreciate it, but I do acknowledge it.
You like being alone in your world.
Alone with cold turkey sandwiches. So if I can figure out how to do the leftovers and be alone, I would pick that.
Yeah, just go to the store, get a turkey for yourself.
For sure. That's exactly what I did.
Sit with your cold turkey alone in the dark.
Mayonnaise and toasted butt. Oh, so good.
Listening to anything, or would you be like, no music?
No, I'm listening to music. I pretty much always listen to music.
Really?
Yeah.
What kind of music?
I am all over the place.
You know what song I could really do without?
What?
Like, especially this time of year, there are two songs. I'm like, can we just get rid of these? Christmas Shoes. Do you like the song Christmas Shoes?
Never heard it.
Yes, you have.
I have not.
Yes, you have.
I've not.
The whole song about a kid's mom who's dying and he has to buy these shoes before mama meets Jesus tonight.
Nope. Never heard it.
You never?
Never.
Comedian Pat Oswalt did a whole stand-up bit about it. That's hilarious.
There are very few modern songs that are on my playlist. Everything is from 90s and early 2000s.
Oh, this is older. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's excluded. I think AI is protecting me. So no.
And grown up Christmas list. Like grown up Christmas.
Nope,
Oh, God.
not
It's
for
just the
me.
most depressing.
Yeah.
Speaking of 90s.
Yeah.
My husband and I found a couple of YouTube videos last night. It was, can you guess these 90s hits? And I was like, yes, I can. And I am amazing.
Yep.
I am amazing at that game.
Yeah.
It's almost like I don't even need to play.
Right.
It's really a waste of time.
Mhm.
I could teach the game.
Yeah. Music trivia, you would be a rock star.
I would.
Mhm.
We should have some music trivia one time, someday.
What, just so you can come in here, dominate, and make everybody feel terrible
Yes!
about what
Could it be the one thing I'm better than you at?
you would be? 100%.
The one and only thing. Yeah, I have noticed, this is going to make me sound dumb, and maybe I am. My family was teasing me recently because we're all sitting around dinner one time, and my husband and the kids are talking about like these historical events, past wars, moments in history, the names of things and what happened in the war of whatever. And I'm just like, oh, yeah? Well, every song that came on the radio, I could tell you what it was. Every one.
Skill. Total skill.
They talk about math. I'm lost. I'm lost. I don't know.
Now, of those two skill sets, math and knowing song titles, which do you think has more utility in the marketplace? What do you think is more valuable? What should kids strive to become better at?
You know,
It was just a random question.
it depends on where you are and what you're doing, I think.
Okay. All right.
Listen, one day I will find a use for the pointless, random music knowledge in my head.
Yeah, I will tell you that I get visited by being amazing at math yesterday. So just if you need the tempo of how often that skill plays into your everyday life, I will point that out.
You're better than me, Joe. Is that what you want to hear?
Listen,
You're smarter.
It's no fun if you get the white flag. Us warriors, we don't want.
Listen,
We want crushing.
when you and
We
I
don't
play
want submission.
Name the 90s tune, I will dominate. And whatever the prize is, it's mine. And
Okay.
it's
All right.
gonna be
Make
amazing.
sure you message me when that happens. I'm really
Yes.
interested.
So good.
All right, so let's talk about faggot and retard. Okay.
Wow.
Faggot and
Good
retard.
morning. Good morning, everyone.
So these are
You're
two.
just tuning in.
Yes. Faggot and retard are in the news. All right.
Oh, are they?
They are. And I didn't hear the actual clip, so I don't know. But it referring to someone as a retard, is that an acceptable term? Calling someone a faggot, is that an acceptable term? And are we, like, language is a big thing with me. I love words. I love being able to communicate with other people. I stay very far away from terms that have no utility and don't give any benefit whatsoever. And their only sole use is to make someone feel terrible.
Yeah.
And so I just refrain from them because there's no use for them. But when something comes in the news and you have, a lot of influencers on the Republican side have taken a lot of liberties into unearthing retard and not making it something that people recoil from.
I have heard that lately. Or the word retarded.
Retarded.
They're
or
like, bring this word back.
Yes.
It doesn't need to be taboo.
Right. And then Pierce Morgan and Tucker Carlson. Tucker tried to bait Pierce Morgan into saying faggot is something that would get him in big trouble in Europe for using a word like that. And Tucker must have used it 50 times during that interview as a word that he is no longer afraid of. All right. And so, but what it brings up is if we make certain terms unusable, like the N-word, I won't even say the word.
Yeah.
Right? I won't. I'll say N-word. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But I won't say it because, number one, it causes way more devastation than any use for it.
Mhm.
And since you understand what word I'm talking about, I don't have to use it. And you understand that we're talking about words that are too radioactive for common conversations.
Yeah.
So this brings me to the principle of word usage. So if you don't use the word retarded and faggot, right, as something that causes someone to feel bad about, can we stay consistent and then avoid all words that make people feel bad, such as fascist? If that makes a person feel bad, should we use one? Are some allowed even though they only have an insulting context? And are we okay with those ones? And can we insulate certain words so they're unusable, right? And so radioactive that no one would dare wander into, language where it was commonplace.
Yeah, but I mean, there are a handful that are like universally taboo, but then you have people that certain words can be triggering to them and not others. So what are you going to do? Just be like, oh, don't use that word. I don't like it. And I don't like being called that or referred to that. I don't like hearing that. And you're like, okay, so that's another one on the list that we can't use. And
And honestly, when you tell me something like that, like being that I saw no utility in it before, the rebel nature that I almost want to use it because I don't believe in protected classes. I don't believe in anybody giving some kind of like social advantage because of what they deem themselves to be. And so I want to use all of those words only because I'm a freaking counterculturalist that is rebellious in spirit. And now you've given me motivation to use something that I want to diffuse it and dilute it as to the point where it's unrecognizable as something that you should be offended to.
Take away its power.
Exactly. You clutch your pearls, great. And the fifth or sixth time that I make you clutch your pearls, you're not as outraged as you were the first time. So let's diffuse all of those words. So they're just a way to determine whether or not someone is a freaking moron, right?
Yeah.
Or there's somebody who's trying to achieve intelligence.
Like another word that I bet people don't say, but everybody knows, the C word.
Cunt.
Oh, you say it?
Oh, it's just another word.
So I'm probably one of the few women I know that I'm not jarred by that. Like some people, if they hear that word, they're like, oh my God. I'm just like, now obviously it's used in a negative way. Typically it's used as an insult. Maybe that's why I don't take it that way. Is I know if somebody were to throw that word, they're bringing out the big guns. They're showing everything they have. They want to be like, this is the worst thing I can think of. And I'm like, I'm not going to let you throw that at me. Like it's just a word.
And everyone should. But if you're debating someone and you basically take the one thing that's going to cause the debate to come to a screeching halt, then you don't use that thing because nothing good happens on the other side of it. If you want to have a debate, rather like I could own you. All I have to do is psychologically manipulate you into getting you so outraged that then you say stupid shit. So I can say, Kelin, I think you're a cunt, right? And if that were effective on you, then you would basically throw what you had planned to say to me about the strategy. And I can make you go to a primitive state where you just throw words that are going to make me mad. Yeah. And you can call me a fascist, or you can call me Hitler. You can call me, a racist. Yeah.
Nazi.
Anything. None of those are effective on me whatsoever because they're untrue. So go ahead.
And that's kind of why when someone throws that word out, to me, my instant reaction is, I've got you. If someone is like, I'm going to hurl this thing at them and it's going to cut deep and it's going to hurt, I know that you are trying very, very, very hard to get at me. And who does that? Someone I've got. I'm in your head. So I don't get cut by that word. To me, if anything, you just showed your hand.
Even the person that does, what is cutting you about that?
Yeah, word? I don't know.
What's the internalization that said, he called me a cunt? Maybe I am a cunt. Like, what is that even?
I don't even know.
Mean?
Yeah. No. Like, is that like a bitch, but worse?
Yeah.
I don't even know.
Right. So when you call someone a faggot, and that word in the 80s was used more than any other word within our neighborhood, for sure.
Yeah.
What did it mean? Was it ever associated with a person that was homosexual?
I think it was.
Okay. And what was sort of like expressed in calling someone a faggot?
I think they were expressing the idea of it being wrong or bad.
Feminine. If somebody caught the ball and they winced, right? And they were scared of getting tackled, they were a faggot because they were acting feminized. And the goal,
which they're implying is wrong or bad.
Exactly. So if you if you winced, you were showing feminine qualities, and the game that you were playing were meant to exhibit all of the grunting, primitive, masculine qualities. And so you were not what you were, trying to portray.
Yeah.
You were not manly. You were a faggot. And that's how it was used in that conversation. Right.
Yeah.
And I never thought a single time a homosexual ever. When I heard that word, it was always that somebody was not performing as a warrior.
A Nancy
boy.
boy.
Same thing. If you call someone a Nancy boy, it would have the same, sort of connotation as being someone who's in a warrior field of battle, and you were acting like someone who should be churning the butter.
Yeah. I think some people used it in a way that did mean homosexual.
I'm sure it did.
But again, with a negative connotation behind it.
Yeah.
It was a word that they're like, I want to cut you down.
The minority of people were homosexuals, and so they were separate from what normalcy suggested men should behave. And then you had the feminist revolution, which then created more femininity in society. And so it became more acceptable that you had a bunch of guys who drink beer, watch football, and do a bunch of grunting and maybe some farting along the way. And you had, people who knew how to wear, what sweater to wear and how they should smell, and what food to eat, and what paired up with the proper.
So when did that become metrosexual?
That was a transition period between when a feminized man became sort of like an accepted subsect, and now it's like nobody freaking cares. Like there's no men who would even say it, because we've already separated the tribes amongst ourselves. So if you're a person that really loves art and music and knows what fashion to wear, I don't care, right? When we play Smear the Queer, right? You're just not playing because I don't want you to get offended.
So would you say it's a term we adopted as a way to both express the man's feminine side without making it a cut down? Like, you're like, the one word, I'm trying to cut you down. The other word is, I don't care that you're like that. Okay, I don't want it to sound like a cut down. If I called you a queer
during, you winced and went on the ground and went into fetal position, the goal was to call you a queer so that you would start behaving more masculine. Because if you're in that foxhole with me and you got to defend me, I don't want the person that's going to be in the fetal position. I want the warrior who's going to take the hit and play the game as a way to saying, who's trustworthy in society? Who do I want to have my sex? And who would I rather not? You can go do your wine pairings, but don't get near the battlefield.
Go to your wine pairings.
Yes. Right.
Julie says, OMG, this convo is giving me the willies. We know these words are meant to degrade others, so why use them?
Right. So if sort of the principle now is like, hey guys, this is getting stupid. All we're doing is throwing insulting things that are intended to hurt other people. Let's stop hurting other people. I would buy into it. But if it's selective, it means that I'm going to throw an insult for the sole purpose of cutting someone down, and that one's okay. And I'm going to throw this one out there. No, don't use that one because they're a protected class. That's an inconsistency that I can't fathom.
Yeah. So if it makes you uncomfortable to hear someone using these words,
don't use them.
But you're fine.
Exactly. That's my
point.
When
someone else gets called fascist, racist, Nazi, bigot, where's the line? Yeah. Where's the line?
You have to decide whether or not you like insulting people and showing your lack of intelligence, or let's across the board, let's just all have more decorum. Let's put on our top hats to fly, right? Use words that are more like Shakespeare and less like Cardi B. And let's go out to society and make it better by rewarding people who want to have conversations that don't include insults. That's the whole point and purpose. But as soon as you take a protected class and allow them to have free reign with language, and then you look at the other class that wants to use the language because they want to be equally as insulting, because that's just the nature of humanity, right?
Yeah.
If you throw shade at me, right, I am going to throw shade at you. And I don't care who gets insulted that's not in the throwing shade. Right. I'll go to the whatever level you throw at me. So if you're like, you say, Joe, you're a short guy with a small penis. Right. Guess what I'm going? I'm going cunt right to Cuntville. right?
I can't believe you called me that.
Yeah, you're a little
A little
outraged.
see you next Tuesday.
Where's your pearls? Like, I bet you don't even use pearls.
I'm not offended. I'm just like, I just know YouTube is going to snip that and it's going to make it look like, oh my God, Joe is really mean to Kelin.
Yeah. Well, what, honestly, at the point where everybody is a sort of like called all of the names, at what point, if you're going to be called the names, why don't you just become that thing? So am I a racist? I would like to think I'm not. Right. But I bet you there's some people out there that have levied the charge at me that I'm a racist.
Yeah. We've both been called racist.
Do you think I'm what's that called when you hate women?
Misogynist.
You think I'm a misogynist?
No, I'm kidding. No.
Probably not. I'd like to think that, I revere women who behave like women. Do you think that I am a fascist? Right. There's a lot of people that think I'm a fascist. And most of them don't know what the words mean, but here's what it is. It's your classic line of the points don't count on whose line.
Yeah, everything's made up and the points don't matter.
You don't even know what the words mean, but they have some value to them. So you throw them at somebody in order to hurt them. And when they throw them back, you're like, I'm a victim of those hard words.
It sounds harsh, even if you don't know. Like, you don't know what a fascist is, but it sounds like a good cut down. And you don't know what a see you next Tuesday. I can't even say it, but it sounds like a cut down.
Yeah. So either words are all on the table or words are not on the table. You can't have this where your words are protected and mine aren't.
I remember when I first moved down south, the very first job I ever got, I was a receptionist in a hair salon, and the owners of the salon were British. And the owner smoked, and he would say, I'm going to go out back and have a fag. And I was like, what? And he's like, I'm going to go out back, have a quick fag. And I was like, you might want to change your terminology if you're going to live here. You may not want to call it that. And he's like, why not? And I was like, I would call it a cigarette. That word hits people's ears differently in this country. And another one, and this is probably a word I can't say, and it wasn't me calling anybody this, but the other British person there was like, oh, what'd you do for dinner last night? I went out for chinky. And I was like, what? I went out and got chink food. And I was like, I don't think you can say that here. And she's like, why not? She had no idea. Neither of them had any idea that those are offensive sounding terms here. And they were like, it's what we call it there. It's not meant to insult anyone. So it's like, well, that's very true. Words are only bad if you mean them to be bad, and insulting if you mean them to be insulting.
Do we live in a culture, though, that is really trying to not make other people feel bad? Or is the culture basically a massive insult that just basically circulates, right?
Yeah.
So if we have a trough of words, and words are currency, and you have opportunists that will use words that have that radioactivity associated with it, and then you can basically score social points by using those words against your enemy. Why would you not? So it's sort of like a reflection of where people are. I'm a person who doesn't use any of those words in normal conversation. I do it when we're talking about it because it's a conversation piece, but I couldn't even think where that would be a valuable word to express myself in any context.
Yeah. I grew up with a mom who always worked in social work, and she's works for a company that has guardians for developmentally delayed adults, and we were never allowed to call each other retarded. Like, anytime me and my brothers were kids and they'd be like, you're so retarded, oh, we'd get in trouble. You don't ever say that. Even to this day, if I hear an adult say that word, I'm like, well, you're not supposed to say that.
Is there a proper use? Is there a proper use for retarded?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, there are things like retardants. In music, there's retardando. There's things in like, there's a road sign I saw. Maybe it was a retardant.
No engine retards.
Yes. It is like to slow down, basically, is how that term is used when not meant as a cut down.
So if I would go to my handy dandy thesaurus, do you think if I said, hey, this word, people don't really like it and they feel bad about it, and I don't want to use it in a way that make other people feel bad, can I put up on a sign, no engine brake, rather than no engine retard? Right? Does it
You could.
convey the feeling that I just don't want you using your engine brake because it makes a bunch of noise and you're in a residential neighborhood and we don't want to, annoy the crap out of everybody who lives there, or it'll break our street because it's only 6 inches of concrete, and when you do that, you risk breaking my road. If I say no engine brake, it basically tells you what I'm getting at, right?
Yeah.
And I don't have to use the word. So long that people can go around and say, I don't like that word. So if Joe picks a word and I am now insulted, and I can get 10 people to also be insulted. Now, does it play the other way? Like, hey, I don't like when you make fun of short people, right? It offends me. Don't use words.
Don't call me shouty.
Not at all. It offends me. Now, is it your obligation to not use something that you never use as an insult to me, but it makes me feel bad, right? Because if I say, well, we've got some currency, you don't want me to say cunt, and I don't want you to call me a midget, right? And then if you don't say that one, I won't say that one. And now we have a transaction and say, cool. I can come up with a million reasons. I can call you a Karen. I can call you a bitch.
Yeah.
I can call you 1,000 other things in my thesaurus that I don't use the one that you don't like.
Some people don't like the phrase, oh my God. And I've been around some people that are just like,
yeah. So
if
a Christian believes that God's name shouldn't be taken in vain, and they're insulted if you do it, is it your obligation to not say it, or is their obligation to tolerate it? That is the universal question of language and behaviors and decorum.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, because you can have decorum, you can have respect. I could say, I'm going to respect your feelings about that, not use it. But obligation?
You're not obligated.
Yeah.
But
I don't know if there's
there are natural consequences for doing something. So if somebody came over to my house and they were like, dude, I want to tell you my whole family, we hate pigs. We don't like pork. We don't everything. And I'm like, well, I love pigs. Like,
I'm having some bacon.
When I'm picking out, what we're talking about and whatever, I can be a total dick, right? And eat my bacon in front of them and talk about how great pork is. And if I want to lose a friend and I want somebody not to come over, that is a transaction that I'm willing to tolerate the repercussions for my behaviors. I want to be considerate with other people, but I also am only considerate with people who are considerate back in my direction.
Yeah.
You call me a fascist and I'm going to eat that bacon. I'm going to put it on a sandwich. I'm going to take pictures of it and put it as a slideshow on my TV, right? But so that's a transaction between two people. How we behave is sort of an agreement between warring and feuding people.
Yeah.
But I don't see a lot of concessions from the white liberal women and how outraged they are when they hear the word retard. No matter how I'm using it, they're almost like those ambush predators that are just waiting for someone to use that word so that they could just clutch their pearls, right, and be outraged.
So that they could be an ally.
Yes.
Speaking of white liberal women. Julie says, if I call someone a fascist, racist, misogynist, it is because it is descriptive and how I feel it applies. I would never imagine calling a woman a C word and feel it was descriptive. It could be descriptive.
And I'll agree with that to a point. And I can tell really quick if someone knows enough about the word that they just used and how they're actually using it. So if you universally use it as an insult, then when something that you don't like happens, then that word comes very freely out of your mouth. You weren't trying to categorize the person as exhibiting things. You were taking a universal term that was insulting and universally applying it to people that you don't like.
Yeah.
And I would say, Julie, I give you a coin flip. I think that you probably use the word fascist as intentioned. And I also think that you use it sloppily in that group of people who you just disagree with. And you're one of the better ones. If a coin flip is actually a pretty, sort of good ratio. I think most of your Democrat brethren throw those terms around, and all you got to do, Jay Leno used to go on the street and ask stupid questions and embarrass people about how little they knew about trivia and whatever.
Yeah.
And I thought that was great to know the people that walking around with you are way dumber than you. It always gave me, hope that even though I didn't feel I was all that smart, I was at least smarter than that jackass.
Yeah.
Right? And so when I watch some of these, rallies that happen and people are holding a sign about fascism and they ask him, actual words about who were the fascists in the United States and what did they do and what qualifies Trump as being a fascist. It's revealing of how little they know about the word that they threw out that was supposed to be a big insult. And because they heard people like Julie say it, and maybe Julie knows the real word and actually applied it appropriately for good, reason, they just parroted it.
How do you feel about using those taboo words in music? Like Black Eyed Peas have a song, Let's Get Retarded. And for radio, it had to be changed to Let's Get It Started.
Right.
And I love the song. It's a great song. I don't find it, they don't mean it to be insulting. They use it as a word as let's get wild and crazy and out of control. Let's get hyped and amped is how they meant it. Or how do you feel about like rap songs and hip hop songs that use the N word? And maybe somebody will say, well, you can't use that word, but I'm going to put it in a song and sell albums and put it in your hand and hope you listen to it. But you can't say it.
So you've asked the right guy, because I am a counterculturalist, right?
Okay.
Art is always the expression of the bulldog and pushing back against status quo. It should always be that. It only bastardized and it only took on propaganda, like a megaphone of propaganda, when let's push against something, but only unidirectionally, right? If you're a counterculturalist, you push against all culture, not just certain segments, because you're using counterculturalism to a political end, which is exactly opposite of counterculture. So if you're Saturday Night Live, right? Yeah. And you make fun of everybody, you lampoon everyone, you make fun of everybody, that is countercultural. If you pick one side and only make fun of them, but then you almost like, Joe Biden, what's your favorite, flavor of ice cream? You kind of lost the countercultural because you shifted and now you just became a propagandist rather than a counterculturalist. The two are related. One doesn't care who you offend, and one of them, it has a focus and using counterculturalism as a weapon against your enemy or the person on the other side. That's where we're wrong. And there is no, think of somebody who is truly counterculturalist right now. So you have Rage Against the Machine, right? Rage Against the Machine stood for pushing against the people that were in power to unseat them and elevate other peoples to power. And then once they're at power, you unseat them. And it should always be a cycle of taking the positions of power. Fuck you. I don't care what you tell me. Right. And then when vaccines come along, it's like, no, fuck you. I won't do what you tell me. And it has to be universally applied if it's a consistent message against the culture. But if you agree with the culture, all of a sudden it's like, all right, no, don't
push against this one.
No, tell me what to do and I'll gladly do it is a much less of a song. It doesn't inspire me. Tell me what to do and I'll do it right away.
Tell me what you want, what you really, really want.
So anyway, so that's sort of like, but the pendulum will swing in the other direction, and everything that you're doing right now, you're not going to like it on the other side. And me, I like pick your principles, stick to them as they're written. And when it's not your turn, where you're at a disadvantage, support the other guy and his ability to push against the culture. So do you think our society was masculine in nature?
Is it masculine?
Do you think it was?
It was.
First 100 years of senators, of industry, was it masculinely dominated?
Probably, yeah.
Okay. All right. Do you think that's a wrong? Do you think it was orchestrated to be a masculine endeavor?
Do I think it was wrong, or
Yes.
do I think it was orchestrated that way, or both?
Both.
I don't know if it was. I mean, I guess it was sort of orchestrated that way. I don't know if it was done in a wrongful way, like a facetious way. I think it was maybe just like a natural order of things, maybe, that brought that about. I don't know if I understand what you're asking.
Okay, so if you said let's have a football game after Thanksgiving dinner, right?
Yeah.
And when you put that group text of everybody in Ohio, Do you think that women will show up for the turkey bowl?
Maybe some.
Okay. Do you think it would be primarily men that show up for that?
Probably.
Would you say that it was engineered or orchestrated to be a men's only event with the exception that there are a couple women would show up?
Was it orchestrated to be that way?
Yeah. Do you think everybody was like, let's pare down this list and not text all the women so that they don't know about the turkey bowl?
No.
So it would just be a reflection of something that men have dominated, either by biology dominate or socially dominated.
Sort of a natural occurring.
Men would primarily show up.
Yeah.
Right. So if civilization was dominated by men, it was a reflection of socially that men dominated those spheres, right? Just like women dominate nursing because of who they are and socially where we put women at, or, you know, the nurturing ability of women biologically.
Yeah.
Right. So let's just say that we wanted to infuse diversity into those things. We wanted to have more women at the turkey bowl. All right. How would we engineer that? Without breaking any principled rules of then, you know, we want to attract women to come to the turkey bowl without then skewing giving someone the ability, the tyrant that you like, giving the ability to hand select people so that women would be there.
I was going to say, you'd almost have to maybe change how it's played.
Okay.
Like, I'm not going to show up with big, strong men and think I'm going to tackle them, or I'm going to be perfectly fine if I get tackled.
Okay. Changing the dynamics of the game so it is more appealing to the women. So if you ask all the people that are participating and they're like, we don't really want to change the game. The game is awesome the way that it is.
Yeah.
The game, you know, if you change it, it's
physical, and that's
so
how
I
it's
would
played.
say, well, why don't you set up the women's turkey bowl and have a different game? And then maybe primarily women will show up to the game that's been altered. All the guys will be like, I'm not playing that game. They pick flowers on the field. This one tackles people.
Why do we have to? Maybe we tackle each other.
Maybe you do. Maybe carefully tackle each other.
Maybe it's two-hand tag.
Maybe they text you and say, I'm going to tackle you. I'm running behind you. I'm going to tackle you. Don't be scared. Maybe
not. Maybe we put on our pads and we get all rough.
Right. And just the normal, without breaking any of the principles, you can put together and orchestrate things that are equal.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, but it's when you skew it and you artificially skew it, then you have broken the principle that then when it swings back in the other direction, you're not going to like. So if it's going to be like, hey, we're going to change the game, right? We're going to exclude certain people because we don't want them part of our game. And we're going to give advantage to one group and then have a turkey bowl.
Yeah.
And then you're like, wait a minute, I just did three things. Would I want to be excluded for something that was outside of my control? Would I want to change the game to pander to somebody that's not me? Right. And would I want to give advantage to someone who wasn't me? When you get the benefit of those things, you're like, yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
But when it's being played back against you, you're a little bit like, hold up, wait a minute. There's an unfairness and an injustice to it. So in the social engineering, you got to figure out what the safe engineering is and what the game breaking engineering is. And we have broken the game so much that the pendulum swing is going to suck for a lot of people.
And that, when I first started hearing all these people saying, oh, let's bring these terms back, let's start making these words no longer taboo, my first reaction is, oh, it's because we went so far the opposite direction. Nobody's allowed to say anything. Nobody's allowed to talk about anything. You got to be really careful about terminology you use and how you address people and everything. And it's like, we got so sick of that now it's brought back to, let's say everything.
But what I talked about Tucker and Bill Maher. Do you remember Bill Maher when he was on HBO?
A little bit.
What was the show called?
Oh, is it Real Time? No. Real Time with Bill Maher.
Wasn't it politically incorrect?
Yeah.
Right? So he is sort of like the trademarked representative for doing the thing that is not correct for the sake of saying and doing things that you don't like to hear. Okay.
Yeah.
And the counterculturists should be rallying behind people like Bill Maher not just doing stuff because, they're going to get clickbait or they're going to get attention for doing it, but sort of like a movement to go against sort of like what those things that other people deem as correct. I don't want to do anything that's correct. I only want to do things on my terms when I feel like there's an advantage. So if you and I are meeting, I used to do a thing called a Manchu list back in the day. And
Manchu
list.
What is that?
Oh, dude, I'm going to just out myself here, and you're never going to forget this one, are you? Manchu list. Okay.
Manchu list.
So think of a spreadsheet that everybody in your sphere, you take the top 100 people that you know, and you write them on a list, right? You put their name on a list next to a number. And then next to their name, you basically rate them numerically and what they can do for you, what you could do for them, what value they hold in your world. And you basically are putting a measurement towards someone. So you meet somebody when you're out and about, you're collecting data to see what they represent. If they're, in a position of power, or they have a lot of wealth, or they know a lot of people, you're taking a mental account for what they represent, what they could do for you, and what you can do for them.
It feels like a sales tactic.
Totally.
Okay.
Totally is a sales tactic.
Okay.
And so you're basically weighing people up in what they can do or not do for you. And that's sort of the measurement of what relationships you want to have. If nobody has something to offer, then you're not going to get in a relationship. Like, if you were dating right now, are you dating, by the way? I don't want to, you're not dating?
Well, I date one person. We're exclusive.
So let's just say you were out in the field and you wanted to date someone. There would be, your interests would be first and foremost. You might think your highest priority is someone who can love you. You might want to make sure that financially you were secure. You want to make sure that you had a responsible person who had disciplines.
Yeah.
You have a whole list of Manchu that when you're dating, you're having conversation for the explicit purpose of seeing if they're worthy enough to be entered into who you date and who you want to end up with. So on the professional level, you do the same type of things. You want to surround yourself by 100 people who want to make sales pitches at you and can't do a damn thing for you, or you want to invest your time in people who can show some kind of benefit for spending time and investing in them. It's pretty, on the personal level, you understand. It feels dirty when you don't let relationships be random.
Do you have a Manchu list?
Oh, yeah, I've always done it.
Am I on it?
Yes.
Do I have a high number or a low number?
Listen, you don't. That's one first rule of Manchu list is that you don't share Manchu list. Nobody knows what they are.
Is it like a scale of 1 to 10?
No.
How do you assign the numbers?
It's way more complicated than that. It would take me a whole show to do Manchu.
1 to 100?
It's not new. It's not a numerical representative in all departments because each one is weighted for different things. More categorization than it is measurement. There's some measurement on there, but there is more categorization.
That sounds complicated.
It is. It's very complicated.
You can't just meet someone and be like, I like you, I don't like you.
Well, it depends. If having people that you like is a value in where you're at right now, like there will be times where having people around you that you like is important. What if it's not? What if you got 10 friends that you like a lot and the new person that you like a lot isn't as good as the ones that you already like? You got to be able to create a hierarchy of where they insert. Sometimes it's I like you, but I didn't like you enough to enter in on the 10 people that I already like more than you.
Kind of like if you're going out somewhere, you're having a get together, and it's not going to be a huge one, just a handful of people.
Yes.
And you invite all your sort of top people that come to mind. And then maybe you think of like someone else that you also like, and you're like, oh, yeah, I like them. They could have come. I didn't think to ask them. You don't just like them. You think it'd be fine. You bet they'd have a good time, but they're not in the top of mind group.
You do Manchu too.
Yeah.
We all do. We all do.
Like, oh, I got nothing against them. Sure, I wouldn't mind at all if they came. I just, for whatever reason, didn't think of it.
Yeah. And so back to the original deal where counterculturalists, we push against the status quo to make change happen. That entropy is what fuels changes are happening in society. So what would be your number if you had the scepter and you are the noble tyrant? And what do you think would have the best impact changing about our society? What is the first thing that you would do?
To change our society?
Yeah. You could take it away or add something new, but you would make a change and it would stick. Everybody would be beholden to you to do the thing.
I don't know how to word this,
Right.
I'm sort of thinking out loud, but it would be something along the lines of responsibility.
Okay.
And bringing back the idea of personal responsibility in general in people.
Okay. And you, let's just say you're not the noble, don't have the noble tyrant scepter anymore. Would you want to be in the crosshairs for responsibility? Would you want to be judged, and your social lot would be judged by your level of responsibility? Because it's cool when you inflict it on other people, but what about when that crosshair is on you?
I think I'd be okay.
You'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
Okay. So if responsibility was primary, you're penalized for irresponsibility. Now you're saying,
well, yeah. When I say that, I mean in a way of like accepting responsibility in a way that, like, you know, we've talked about, don't automatically be a victim. What can you do? If you can do it, everybody obviously might need help in certain areas, but don't be this sort of, I'm owed something, I'm a victim. Just like, what can you do? What can you accomplish? What can you bring to the table? How can you make the best of things with what you do have? Like, taking responsibility for your life rather than just making others take care of you, work for you, so unnecessarily.
Even when it's cruel, you think that the natural consequences. What do you mean?
Well, how would it be cruel?
Okay, so if you decide you're going to pet a tiger, right, and you have now are responsible for either being a good interaction or you get your face eaten off by a tiger. Now, I'm saying, well, no, she's developing her responsibility. If the tiger goes at you, I'm not going to save her. I got to let the natural consequences of petting a tiger means that could have gone either way. You were willing to have the benefit. Nobody was going to stop you from getting the benefit of petting a tiger. I was not going to intervene at all. So, which means I can't intervene when they're eating your face and saying, well, that's just the natural consequences of taking that risk. Nobody else, you're not a victim of it. You did that willingly. Nobody forced you to pet the tiger. That's on you. It's really
the mindset, though. It's the mindset of, I'm going to pet this tiger because I know that I'm owed being cared for. Like, I know you guys need to be helping me, so I'm going to do something that makes you help me.
But it could be the confidence that you don't believe that if you stand in the middle of the street with a stop oil sign that people won't run you over. So if people stop and you're rescued from putting yourself in peril versus everybody goes on the road, they get run over. So when you're deciding that you're going on the road, you're getting run over, right? So really, it's that super confidence where we leverage what we know other people will do as a mercy, right?
Yeah.
Allows us to be emboldened as an asshole person,
right?
Where I'm going to pet the tiger and I'm going to make it your responsibility. If the tiger turns on me, you're going to be there to rescue me from the tiger.
Yes. Yeah. The idea of why you're doing it, what you're owed in it. If I'm like, all right, I'm going to pet this tiger, I can accept responsibility for what happens. I still get mauled and people help me. I appreciate it. I am thankful. I will pay it back is totally different than, you all owe me anyways. Let me go ahead and give you something to work for. I'm going to go pet this tiger because I know you guys will clean up the mess.
I wanted to point out that there's a cost to responsibility, right? So let's just say in that same scenario, you're petting the tiger. I'm looking at you and I'm like, she's going to get her face eaten off. Hey, don't do that. You're going to get your face eaten off. And you go and start to pet the tiger. I see eye contact being made. I see the posture of the tiger getting a little bit aggressive with you. I come and rescue you. And then you come with me and I'm saying, here, Kelin, I saved you, but you'd be dead right now if it weren't for me. So now you're an indentured servant to me. You got to follow me around and you're basically a person that's dead man walking because you'd be dead right now. And the only reason you're alive is because of me. Now you owe me. That would be the natural consequence of, yes, you can get help, but now what's the responsibility of the help? You don't want it. You want to do responsible things so you don't get in peril. You want people to save you, but then saving them means that you are now obligated and to honor what they did for you. In movies, it was depicted like when you save somebody, they would follow you around and save your life. And now the balance sheet
But if I could be all powerful and change the mindset, it wouldn't be that. It would be, you saved me. I feel obligated to you, but you don't feel that way. You'd be like, no, I saved you because it's the right thing to do. Be careful next time. No. Can I help you with something? You really don't have to do that. Like that would be.
So you would do responsibility without natural consequences. That seems like a really bad scepter pull.
No, there could be natural consequences. It's the frame of mind is what its intention is what I'm changing. The intention of
intention?
Things. Yes. Hey,
all right,
you asked me.
You're the scepter holder.
You told me I could do it. I'm changing everyone's intentions.
So it is important for artists and counterculturalists to push against things that are changeable and not get captured by whatever is politically expedient. And that's what I loved about 80s and every 60s music all the way forward. If there was something that you didn't like and it was culturally acceptable, you pushed against that shit. You had a bunch of people who were like, I'm going to also go against the grain. I'm going to take it because that is sexy to me to push against the status quo. And it was done in good faith, right? And we need more politically incorrect people who say, if somebody's like, don't say the C word, I'm going to be like, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to say the C word, not because I wanted to, but because you don't want me to. And I'm going to say it in such a way that is going to never make you tell somebody what they can and can't do. You couldn't coerce me not to saying it because that's what counterculturalists do. But now you can try to persuade me not to say it by using a better argument. And then maybe I won't say it because you had a better argument. I see your logic in it. So I'm going to reverse it. I'm going to tell you what I would do. Do you want to say something else?
It might be a little off the subject. So go ahead. It's on the subject, but different.
So first scepter, I would take someplace out west that has no population whatsoever, and I'd form my own state, and I'd call it Stupidville. And I would basically take all dumb people, measuring in IQ and just awareness of how the world works, and anybody that's below that level, I'd send them to Stupidville, and it would sort of be the Australia to England, right? Not just prisoners and not just people who broke the law, but people who are just downright dumb. And they would be put into places that can occupy them until they get out of the breeding pool. And then the smart people would be everywhere else. I think stupid people ruin stuff to such a degree that if you would just be able to way to parse them out and put them somewhere else, I don't know if there would be 100 people left, 1 million people left, 50% of I don't know how many there would be. But even if it was that 200 million people were all in Stupidville, at least I know they couldn't do anything dangerous that would affect me. And I think you can actually get something done in Smartville when all your Stupidville people are disengaged.
How would you measure the stupidity of someone?
I would do it scientifically. So I would take all of our ills from people who are just have no understanding of how things work. And I would probably make a list of 100 filters. And then you take other smart people and they would create 100 filters, and we'd combine them to find the way that you'd filter out the most amount of dumb people that are walking amongst us. And you can do testing. You can do IQ tests.
Yeah, but it's interesting because let's take example, certain people on like different spectrums that are highly intelligent with math, numbers, technology, science, things of that nature, but have zero situational awareness, no social skills, can't read a room.
Yeah, so my filter would make sure that those people were included in Smartville. It's not a single pass fail.
Yeah,
it's a gradient of people who we want to keep around that have the capacity, but people do not have the capacity to go to Dumbville.
Like, what about someone that like they test poorly? Maybe they're not good at reading, they're not good at math, they're not good test takers. They are. Remember,
we have all smart people who are making the tests. As soon as you get the dumb people out of taking the test, then all that problem disappears, because we're not putting like gotcha questions on tests. We're looking to bring out the intelligence in people and be able to measure it. We're not like, doing what the Department of Education is to exclude people from that mix.
So you could have a form of testing that can analyze.
I can take a phone call. You keep talking.
I was just saying it could have. You'd have to have a form of testing that can analyze the different strengths and the different weaknesses in people. Some considered smart, maybe some considered dumb, but I don't know. Isn't that subjective? If someone can spew terms and memorize knowledge all day long, but they can't figure out anything else, or vice versa. Someone can think of difficult concepts and maneuver social interactions and read a room, but don't have a lot of memorized knowledge. I feel like you guys probably know what I'm talking about. Brian says there needs to be personal accountability for both good and bad decisions, instead of the sense of entitlement and victimhood that is prevalent now. Yeah, and that's why I said I would change the intention, because I think there is that sense in people now. If you take that sense away, then does that help? So your testing could be you are able to memorize factual information and retain that.
Sure.
And you are not, but you are able to take a look around you and come up with concepts and things based on what you're taking in.
Depending on what the needs are of the society. And smart people can decide who are necessary in society and eliminate anybody who's not a contributing factor into making things happen. And Smartville will get things done, and Stupidville will just be a playground.
Penny Lane. Well, Julie says, how about educating those in Stupidville? Could you educate
Here's
them?
the problem with that is people who need to be educated have to want to be educated. They have to be willing to fight for being educated. You can't take stupid people and force education upon them. That's what we're experimenting with here, and that doesn't work. If you go through a high school and find out the people who would overcome like obstacles to get that education, those are the people that you want there. If you were like, anybody who doesn't want to be here tomorrow, you don't have to show up. Anybody who would not show up, like the doors are locked for them forever, because they're not only do they not want to be there, they're not willing to fight obstacles to get there. So I would reverse it, put all of the education in behind monks, stone doors. And how much do you want that education, bitch? That kind of thing.
You know what I have thought about? This might be kind of silly, but I wonder. When I was a kid in school, there were certain subjects and concepts and things I really struggled with. Like, just could not get it. If we're getting tested on this, I'm failing it. I just don't understand it. Now that I'm an adult, having maybe never even used that material ever again, but I am in a different place, a different mindset, a different, I don't know, I guess I've learned new things that maybe will help apply. I am so interested if I could go back to that classroom that I was a kid in, and now you explain it to me if I get it now.
Yeah. Well, there has to be a thirst for it. Like, I learned some things in history that I know as a kid, when I was being forced to learn history, I would have been tuned it out in 2 seconds. I didn't know how it applied. I wasn't interested in it. I didn't have a thirst for it. So it was a waste of time.
Yeah. Like, my kids will talk about things that they learned in schools and they'll use the terminology for the concept and what it is and everything. And I'm like, I don't think I did that as a kid. Like, why? How can you do that? And I couldn't. And maybe it was just an interest. I was not as interested.
And that is what teachers are supposed to do. Teachers are supposed to get you persuaded to care about something, right? And their job is not to teach for the test and nanny a bunch of kids that don't want to be there. It's about to draw out an interest in whatever it is that we're talking about. And good teachers do that. But the teachers union made sure that we don't have a whole lot of those people. We have a bunch of old fogies who barely know how to teach and not innovating into the technologies of education. And so we have teachers that are just dipshits that don't care.
Maybe they're just going through the motions.
Why is education so bad? 2 reasons. We make everybody go, right?
Yeah.
And then we put teachers that are not talented at all in educating kids.
I had a teacher one time say to me, I don't know if it was directed at me or it may have been the class in general. If you don't understand this by now, I'm not showing you anymore. If you don't get it by now, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. And I went, all right, then I won't either.
Yeah.
I won't get it. Like, you're not going to pass if you don't learn this. Want to bet.
So the benefit of forcing education on the unwilling, right, is that you do through osmosis and you do permeate, so you don't have blithering idiots. And that was the logic behind it. So then you got to look and say, okay, after you've done that for a little while, take the blithering idiots out of the equation. So my first filter would be to take they don't have the capacity, they're unwilling and not willing to fight for any kind of education, and just give them what they're asking for. If you poll them, right, and say, are you an idiot? They're going to say, yes, I'm an idiot, and put them in Dumbville.
But if they have the wherewithal to realize they're an idiot, then are they an idiot?
But
you would think the idiot couldn't. They'd be like, what?
But it doesn't matter, though. You want them to not be an idiot. What if they're cool being an idiot? And what if them being the mayor of Idiotville is all they are requiring? That's what I'm saying. Like, you want that for them. And I know the Julies of the world, they think that all kids should get an education, and it's good for society in general to have highly educated people. But honestly, if the capacities of the people that you're forcing education into don't add to the net value of your society, then great intentions, terrible on them when you go to measure it.
Yeah. Penny Lane says, how do you think MAGA happened?
It's an exact other pendulum swing of populist ideology.
Yeah.
And I'm an observer when it comes to this phenomenon, but it's not me that did this. If you would have asked me beforehand, should we do this? I would say no. But since you already did that, you're forced to just, love it. Love MAGA, love Bidenomics, love Obama, love it all. Yeah. They're all stupid, and they make things worse.
Julie says, I know many people that have a lot of smarts, but no common sense.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Because of the innovations in education stopped during the end of Industrial Revolution. We're no better than the Industrial Revolution. You know what the education was supposed to do?
What?
Get people to the point where they can get inside the mill and get on the assembly line and
get to work.
Factory work. 100%. We're not creating professionals. Like I have an audit. Right. So I created this audit for my kid, whether or not he's getting a good education or not. Right. Mm-hmm. And it's not based. I don't ask him like, what year did this happen and how many troops were here and whatever, because that's stupid memorization that's happening. Yeah. You know what memorization is good for? Bob, go up to here, turn the screw 3 times, hit the green button, take it off here and put it on a pallet. That's memorization. We are forging industrialization workers. So when you get to the end of 12 years of freaking education, you're ready to go to the freaking factory. Blows my mind. But anyway, so two things that are important. Curiosity, right? Caring how something works and not knowing, and knowing that you have every tool at your disposal to find out if you want to. And I don't limit my kid where he gets curious. Sometimes he gets curious about nuclear fusion, and sometimes he gets curious about social things. And we hit it both ways because I follow wherever his curiosity leads him. He went to Montessori. So Montessori sort of become a liberal bastion, but the philosophies were really grounded in people who want to bring out curiosities. And I love that. And I honestly, if everybody can go through Montessori as a kid, I would have been a huge help in my development.
Interesting.
Yeah. So if you were going through Montessori and it was guided by your curiosities, all right, the teacher there was only someone who silently guided you to the next curiosity. You would find that you were super interested in certain things and the other things sucked, right? Yeah. And so you would be a brilliant, whatever you picked, historian, and you wouldn't know how to add 2 + 2.
Yeah.
Right? Because you would have just been. But the hybridizing of saying, okay, let's take the things that there isn't a fascination right now, try to build a fascination into that, and try to develop, and the one that you already know and you like, pursue it. I'm going to not put anything in your way. So my kid, is in college material by the time he's a junior, right? Because nobody stopped him from going any further in the things that he was already curious about, right? And then you had to foster the things that you weren't curious about. So do you know how to do taxes? Do you know how to sew? Do you know how to balance a checkbook? Do you know how to invest in the stock market, right? All of these things you might pick up on and say, oh, finances, that's super awesome. Like, let me dig into that because I have interest in it. And maybe the sewing thing, you're like, all right, bring me to a standard where I'm not going to not know how to do it, but I'm going to begrudgingly go for it, right?
Yeah.
You've increased it from 30% of actual information that gets in your kid's head to probably 70%.
And are you able to follow a path of things that you're truly interested in without finding that you also need the other things? Like, I would bet if I had to guess, I don't even know, if I had to guess that I would start those schools and follow only things I'm interested in, I would guess at some point I'd have to involve math because math is everywhere.
Right.
But I wasn't interested in math. I didn't want to learn math. I wanted to go learn this. Don't you have to then have sort of that roundedness of you do still need a little of this and a little of this?
Well,
because
look at the
eventually
benefit. By the end of a Montessori education, you have a standard use of math. So you take a 12th grader that went through public education and got at least to the standards. You know as much as they do, even if you begrudgingly got it. But in that, maybe you have 2 or 3 interests that you're a freaking expert at. Now compare the expertise of the low standard and the one that you would have excelled at, right? So you're not well-rounded. You're not an expert in all things. That's what society does. It raises people who have expertise in different things, and through cooperation, you mesh those two together, and the person that's good at math gets along with someone who's whatever, and then you have an agreement between the two that they're going to do the math stuff and you're going to do the other stuff. It's what society should be. A meritocracy means that you're going to go get good at one specialization, but you're going to have a foundation where you're at least good up to a certain level at all other things.
Yeah, because I mean, if you've got this one interest and you're a genius and you're really good at it, and you want to go into a field that, guess what? Everybody else liked it too, and you're not in demand. You're going to have to do something else for a while, but you're like, oh, I didn't learn how to do anything else.
And that's what you're beating the curiosity. If you take a public education kid and they get super interested in one subject that they have, and if there are obstacles that stop them from going and keeping going forward in their education, you take the curiosity. Hey, I said I'm interested in X. And the teacher was like, you sit in the corner. Let's get everybody catching up. You beat that out of them. And now you've taken the one thing that fuels education, curiosity, and you've not given it its own lane.
Here's what I find interesting.
Yes.
When I was in college and I was trying to pick a major, I think like first semester, I was like early childhood education because I didn't know what I wanted to do. Sounded fine. I don't know. Let's go with it. And then I realized that's not what I want to do. I don't want to do that. What do I want to do? And I remember my mom saying, I can't believe you didn't go into communications. And I went, you can do that? Like, that is what I'm interested in. Let's do that. And I went into communications because I'm like, yes, public speaking, super thrilling for me. Love doing it. Broadcasting, huge interest, always has been. Can I take this into the broadcasting realm? A lot of networking in it, a lot of learning about people. Led me to a minor in sociology. How do people come into this? Learned about humans' fear with public speaking and how fascinating that was and how does that interact with other things. And it was this whole realm that I found so interesting and fun and useful. Mm-hmm. And then I would hear things like communications are what the athletes in college pick because they're too dumb for anything else. Mm-hmm. Or thanks. Or Joe Danyi that says, oh yeah, communications and basket weaving. Same thing. So how do you know you're like, I was just given an opportunity to pursue something I find very interesting and useful, but someone else would be like, nope, that's dumb. It's not.
Well, a curiosity doesn't conform to how people feel about it. It's your curiosity. So if I get involved, if I get super interested in ant colonies, right? Mm-hmm. I'm going to dig into that, literally. Dig into that. And I like it. I don't give two shits about what everybody feels about it. But if I went to a cocktail party amongst the elites and I said, I'm super into ants, right? I would get some criticisms because we're on the...
People would say, he's weird. Don't talk to him.
Exactly. Right. And that's
talking about
but
ants.
That's part of we figure out 1,000 ways to take curiosity and minimize it when it is the foundation of intelligence where if you have an interest in something, even if everybody feels that it's stupid, that the people who are truly educated put you on that path, and they put a slip and slide underneath you so you go as far as you want to know about ant colonies. But it's socially, right, what we deem like they're going to, what people hate about capitalism are the separation between people who figure out the game and they do it really well, and everybody doesn't figure out the game, they fall really far behind, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, socially, what do? We insulate the people who win and we isolate the people who lose. Well, from curiosities, all of those people on the bottom end of that formula should be super curious, right? And jump out of that. But socially, we tell them the game's rigged. You can't do anything about it anyway. They're going to keep you out. There's no way that you're going to get there. So you might as well just take mediocrity, wear it as a badge, and go work in the factory, because that's where we're, gunning for you to do anyway. That's where we're broken in the deal. We keep telling people they're a victim of something, and then nobody's curious enough. They just believe them that they're a victim, and then they'll try. They give up. That's where Stupidville isn't an insulting place. It's just an acknowledgement, right? You were saying, I give up. I got 80 years on this planet. I got this super capable brain, and I'm surrounded by every tool and piece of information that's at my disposal. And I submit that I just don't want to do all of that successful thing.
So instead of Stupidville, because that's a triggering word and it has a connotation, it could just be unmotivatedville,
Lazyville, mediocrity, like give it any name you want, but that's what it is. The people who are not, here's a good test. If you had something important, right? And something that huge upside, but really low downside, you could think of people in your life that you would want to stay far away from the formulation of that plan, right?
Yeah.
Just does not have the capacity to do smart things. You could very easily tell just in your life who you would send them Stupidville. I'm going to keep saying Stupidville because it's just easier.
Yeah. Like if I'm like, oh, I'm passionate about this. I think this is a great idea. This is something that's going to be big. I know you're not going to do it.
Exactly.
You're not going to have any value in
this. You have one
this.
vote to go to Stupidville is what it is. If you wouldn't include them in important things, then they lack the capacity. And if nobody else chooses them, let's just say they're going to be people that, when it comes to kickball, you're going to pick last, right? Because everybody who sees you, they do not see an all-star. And so if they don't pick you, somebody's got to pick you. You've got to have one area of expertise where they're like, oh, Joe's waiting to be picked. I'm picking him first, right? You got to have one area. And if it means like I'm studying ant colony, so I know one day people are like, I'm confounded by this ant colony thing. Do we have an expert out there that knows the ant colonies? I'm picking Joe. You have one of those.
It's my time.
Exactly. And if you get through all of those different specialties and you have none, straight to Stupidville.
I was going to say, so Stupidville is made up of people that have zero specialties.
They have no specialties. They have no interest in creating a specialty. They have no curiosities about a specialty. They are a bobber on the lake of life.
Down
That's
and
it.
said, just
either
care for me.
They've given up, right? Or never cared enough about it to get a specialty. They need to go to a place where other people that are as lazy as they are.
They're like the infants.
You know what's interesting about Stupidville? You will actually have people that rise to the top as Stupidville, and you can scrape those ones who were just misplaced there and bring them back into Smartville. You could.
Some people rise to the top at the humor of the smart people.
Yes.
Like, how many times have we made someone famous and rich in our culture because we were all laughing at them?
Mm-hmm.
And that worked out for them.
But if you take a room full of high intellects and you're like, pick your pop culture icons, it would not be those people. It's only because there are so many more stupid people that have a say and we take them serious and we give them attention that then the rest of culture conforms to the stupid people ruling, and they wreck everything. Everything that you and I have to endure, stupid people make worse.
That's true. Everything we have to endure, stupid people make it worse.
And so Stupidville is a perfect place to concentrate all of your dumbest so they cannot affect anyone outside of those boundaries. And we could have a couple of smart sociologists that can write the rules. And then like Julie was saying, that if there are a couple of them that could do education, the only reason they didn't is because they were too comfortable, make them uncomfortable in Stupidville when they are surrounded by people even stupider than them. Maybe that's the shock that they need to decide not to be stupid anymore. And then the sociologists can rescue those people and put them back into normal society again. With the cautionary tale that you don't want to end up in Stupidville twice. I don't think I'm going to let you come out twice.
You got to work to stay out of there.
You've had the light bulb moment, the epiphany, and now, earn it.
Penny Lane says, yeah, but you have to admit there has been a huge backlash against science. There is no common basis for facts. Everyone can't have their own subjective take on something like climate change.
Right. That's exactly right. Because we don't know when we are sharing an opinion versus fact. We don't even know what the word.
Yeah. And I'm weird with the idea of backlash against science. And
yes.
I agree that we're sort of in that mode that people are fighting over, like, well, I believe in science and you can't go against science. But then when do you talk about this idea of science is always meant to be questioned and studied?
That's right.
Things are always changing. There's been information that we believed for years until new information came along and we're like, oh my God, everything we knew about this was wrong.
Well, the thing is that we lost our influence on religion, so science became our new religion. And so the zealots protect what you think you know, so there's no further innovations in adding to more intelligence in science. So we're just, because too many stupid people, right, they want to, it's their cause, it's their whole being, it's their, their focus. And if you take that away from them, it's like, hey, I know you believe in Jesus and every day you wake up praying and you say these words a lot. I'm here to tell you that Jesus isn't real. Like, that's your identity. Everything that is predicated on Jesus is real. If someone came along and said it's not real, you lose a part of who you are. So if I'm like, climate change is not man caused. It's man contributed, but not man caused. There's a whole lot of people that every sign in the garage says that man-made climate change is going to end the world. So think what you're asking them to give up when you challenge a predicate of everything that they believe. This is religion.
Yeah, I feel like people will say, well, I trust the science. I follow the science, as though science is done. We did it. We accomplish it.
That's
it
exactly
is what
right.
it is.
Net neutrality,
and that's our guidance.
Exactly.
And it's like, wait a minute. Science by nature, by definition, is not done. It's always evolving. We're always learning more. Yep. We can always do more testing. And I feel like when people say, well, you're pushing back against science, are you? Or are you like, hey, this still isn't done. Let's keep questioning. Let's keep experimenting. Let's keep adding to this. And that, to some people, is pushing back against science.
Yeah, you are more scientist when you push against knowledge that you think you know, right? Mm-hmm. You're more of a parishioner or a priest if you say, no, do not question the status quo. Remember, rebellious Joe. So if you want to say that acetaminophen causes autism, right? That is a question, not a statement. Science doesn't make statements.
Yeah.
Science asks questions and has curiosity. But you can see, if we beat curiosity out of people to conformity so they can run their little assembly line, right?
Yeah.
Then when they get to science, they're like, I'm not supposed to question anything. I'm just supposed to believe whatever the higher ups. And so long you have all noble people that are the higher ups and just tell you truth, you're fine.
Yeah. I have a family member and we get into it all the time. They're very science and the scientific method and all these different things. And anything I bring up that has in any way, shape, or form an air of religion or spirituality or God or any of that is automatically dumb. That's dumb. That's dumb. That's dumb. And I'm like, look, we don't even have to look at anything from a standpoint of like God made it all. But let's look at this. Were we created by something? Anything. It could be whatever you think it is. It could be God. It could be something, energy. It could be whatever it is. Something made us. Yes, we can agree on that. Is it possible that whatever our originator was is still affecting us today? Whatever formed us, wherever we came from, we're still feeling the effects of that. Is it possible? And it's always, you don't know what you're talking about, and that's dumb. And I'm like, you can't even think of a question. You can't even be like, interesting question. Can we still feel the effects of whatever put us into motion today? And you have these people that instantly shut down because they're like, oh, nope, I think I know where you're going with that. And I'm going to shut down now. And science, follow the science. Science is done. We have everything we need with science.
Okay, so sociology, I'm going to bring this up again because you did mention that you have expertise in it.
I don't know about expertise. I have a
You do-
minor because I had to pick a minor, and it's was sociology.
Okay, so this is the Super Bowl of sociologists, and those people have the key to everything. All they would have to do is tell us the actual data truth, right? So I don't believe in consensus. So what is consensus?
Like everybody just agrees to go with something.
Okay, so you take people that you feel are objective and have ability in a specialization, and amongst them, they agree that something is a thing, right? They make good decisions. They're pretty accurate. They are better than people who don't have the specialty coming to a consensus. So if I take the hierarchy of consensus, the people that are smarter, who have skin in the game, who are participating in it, have better insight than the person that's just looking at it peripherally, right?
Yeah.
And so that used to carry a lot of weight because you took that job serious. You weren't captured by it. You were a participant in it. But the value of capturing consensus is almost like our $100 bills on a table. The minute that you can accumulate authority based on consensus, now the consensus falls apart because it doesn't mean what you and I think it means. Is it popular to push on consensus? So if you let's just say 9 out of 10 doctors believe something, right? Mm-hmm. That means something to both of you. That 9 people looked at the data and they agree. So you should agree too because they're brighter than you are. Now I want to know. I have a curiosity as to what forged the consensus. What formula went into deciding whether or not something was true? Mm-hmm. Was it if we're doing actual science, we go through the scientific method. Did each one of those consensus, did they read it, replicate it, and they came to the same conclusion? Well, you're still in science not allowed to say, well, because 10 people did this, that it's truth, right? It just means that it's 10 people closer that didn't, I'm more interested in the one.
Yeah.
Right? Why doesn't he agree?
What did you do differently?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now, is there any weight to the person who did not, if it's universal, I want to know if it's a truthful universal or if it's a captured universal.
Yeah.
Okay, so I had a kid that friend of mine who used to do cancer research, and he did peer review studies. He did research. He did independent research as well. And do you trust that somebody who specializes in oncology and cancer research would be trustworthy, would be a good authority when it comes to cancer?
I would hope so.
Okay. So this guy, when he was working and doing his research, he would make $30,000, right? If he wrote papers, he could get paid $10,000 or more for papers. And if it was peer reviewed and acknowledged and accepted, he could make $150,000 on his research papers. So now you take guy who can't even buy a house, had to buy a fixer-upper, has 2 kids, and his house is in shambles. He's barely making enough to get along. Do you trust that person is going to say, I'm going to write an objective paper that's going to have huge, massive amount of pushback and scrutiny and get paid nothing? Or I'm going to write a research paper that conforms to consensus, will be adopted into the captured audience of people who approve and peer review these things and make $150,000. Do you trust his authority, his specialty, to make the decision that is counter his interests at all? Do you think?
I feel a little differently. It's so interesting too. I know a girl, I don't know her well. It's like the friend of a friend, and she works in cancer research. And I don't want this to sound like I wouldn't trust her or she doesn't know what she's doing. She's very smart. She's done it for many, many years. I would put stock in what she says, 100%. I also just know she makes a buttload of money. Very, very good money. Now, she works very long hours. She travels a lot. It's not an easy job. And so one might look at that and say, well, your demanding schedule maybe could warrant how much you get paid, because I certainly don't want to work that many hours. I certainly don't want to travel that much. There's a lot that goes with it. But I can't help but wonder If everybody in this field makes that much money, why don't we have a cure for cancer? If you are working so hard and so long and doing so much that you have this grueling schedule for which you are paid a very large salary, that seems like an industry that would be churning something out. And that's not like, I'm not trying to say there's nothing, but is it interesting at all that we don't have a cure or maybe more advancement in it when we've got people living that way towards something for so long and we still don't know?
Well, it's just evidence that science has been corrupted both in language and both in industry. If there's an industry to keep something afloat for 90 years while you get an infinite amount of grant and research dollars that always plays well to the public, as long as it's perceived a certain way, I'll pay you $100,000 every year for 50 years because it makes me feel good that I'm helping you cure cancer. Nowhere else in any economy that you're going to indefinitely tell me you're going to continue researching something and never have to put anything on the findings table at all.
Yeah, I mean, if it were just simply based on how hard you work, by all means, I'm sure she works very hard. But then what comes, like, what do we get from that? Like, it just is so interesting that if you have an industry like that of people, long, grueling, hard hours, lots of research, lots of work into something, and years and years and years and years ago, and we're not like, hey guys, we should be further than we are.
All right. So again, this comes down to self-interested human nature. Sociologists, it's their field day. So Kelin owns Kelin Motors, right? And your big thing is you like to sell cars. And the typical car lasts 6 years on the road, and then someone has to buy a new one. That's good for you because the shorter they last, like if they lasted only 2 years, people would be mad. But they've almost been conditioned that every 6 years you buy a new car. And so you don't mind buying that car, right? It's an industry that got used to a set of conditions that I've built my factory around the fact that you're going to buy a car every 6 years. Joe comes along and I have this magical elixir that you put 2 drops in the gas tank and now your car lasts 12 years. Now you as Kelin have the ability, because you're super successful, either to allow my 2 drops in the gas tank to ruin the model of selling half as many cars as you want, versus buying my elixir, putting on the shelf and make sure nobody ever goes to market on that thing. Do you think Kelin Motors would be tempted to do that? The answer is yes, right? Because it's a victimless crime, right?
But Kelin Motors has a lot of integrity.
If you have integrity, right, then you would say, oh, this is good for the consumer, really bad for me, but I believe in the consumer and I'm not going to push back and try to defeat it. If you're like any other industry, you have to defeat the counterculturalists. You have to defeat the new innovators on the block and destroy them before they threaten your business model. Science is no different than Kelin Motors. They are self-interested. They know where they get paid. They know who the people are participating. So when they get to the point where my research dollars disappear if we solve this problem, do I have the integrity to solve the problem knowing that now I have no living? My specialty goes out the window because I've just solved. I need to be in the perpetual, solve it enough to keep people happy, but not oversolve it so now they don't need me anymore. So what's the balancing principle to that in medicine and science that makes it so that that doesn't happen?
Yeah. Can people enter an industry and say, my goal is to one day no longer be needed?
That's exactly right. You don't see that in politics. You don't see that in the corporate world. You don't see that in academics. You don't see that in sciences. So we bastardize all of those things, that it's a consumer driven deal. So as long as I make that product good enough that you don't leave me, I don't have to make it too good where you don't need me. And it's somewhere in between those 2 points. That's why we've never cured cancer. It's not that we don't have the ability to cure cancer.
Yeah.
We do have the ability to cure cancer, but there's no interest in it because we destroy more by curing cancer than we would save by curing it.
I remember years ago down south, the school in town was having this program. It must have been like during COVID, I think. The school was handing out free meals to the community because I believe the idea behind it was because of COVID, kids aren't in schools anymore or currently, and there are a lot of children in the community that's their only meal is when they're at school. And so the idea is continue to give out free meals and anybody in the community can come pick up food that is needed. And I remember somebody coming to us and saying, hey, don't forget at the school, they've got these bag, whatever, these meals, go get them. And I said, we're good, actually. Thanks. No, thanks. We're okay. Like we let someone else who needs that have it. And they said, no, you don't understand. Not enough people are picking this up. And if it doesn't get used, then this program will go away completely. And I'm like, so the person you're not meaning to serve who doesn't need it has to use it because there isn't a strong enough need and it's going to go away. Mm-hmm. If there isn't a strong enough need, should it go away? Or should we at least make changes so it serves those in need? And that's it.
Well, if you were in that position, you're a purchasing agent and you get budgeted $100,000 to make your purchasing. And sometimes you really need that $100,000 and purchasing everything legitimate. But then it comes along that you need way less than what you got last time. And now you're put in a conflict of saying, if I take less, then guess what my budget award next time is going to be? Now you're afraid of not having enough money the next time. You would feel obligated to overspend now to preserve what you've been allocated, then give up that end, right? That amount.
Yeah, because I guess you can't go backwards.
That's right.
If you hit another hard time and there is a greater need, too bad you've already lowered.
But that is the incentivized for you to overspend so you don't lose it. Because how hard would it be just to spend the amount of time and with no altercation, with no justification, you're just going to get the same time next time versus spending less. Now have to defend how you did it with less, having 20 conversations about why now the next month you need more. That's way more complicated.
Yeah, because you might actually have to have a meeting that says, hey, last year we didn't need this much, but this year we've been hit with this economic crisis or this pandemic or this whatever. This year we'll need more. And then maybe that's done. Hey, you know what? We're in a really good state right now. We need less. But in 2-3 years down the road, something else has now happened and we need more. Like it's more complicated, but doesn't it make more sense to evaluate it?
And me as a libertarian, I don't like concentrations of power because when you have big organizations, you are not nimble whatsoever. You do a lot of dumb things for the sake of aggregate numbers. And when you're small, you can make really, educated decisions and do them very quickly. So the more we concentrate power, it means that we are giving in and conceding that let's make government super efficient because having lots of smaller governments would be too complicated. I'm the opposite of that. I'm like, you're going to be dumb and big, and this one's going to be, I can take the wrecking ball to because it's little and it can't defend itself. If it does a bad job, it's going away. It has every motivation and reason to give me results because it wants to justify its existence because it's competing with all of the other small, portions of that foundation. So if we split Amazon into 100 companies that were warring against one another, it would be not as convenient on the consumer level because now you'd have complications, but the company would make better decisions because they were smaller portions of that company. But consolidation, I will always preach against it because it always has what you're describing right now, really dumb decisions for the best reasons.
Yeah. Maybe noble intentions, not a good execution.
Mm-hmm. And so long that, and here I'm going to talk a little bit. I have a debate coming up later in the day about single payer healthcare systems. And one of the terms that I use regularly when I debate this is the noble tyrant. Okay.
The noble tyrant.
Yeah. Do we like tyrants? Or are you a big fan of tyrants?
Not really.
Okay. What about in your household?
I'm probably the tyrant.
Okay.
In my household.
What makes a tyrant?
I'm in charge and you have to do what I say and you have no vote.
Okay. So you get supreme authority you could take, your advisors.
I'm not
information.
really a tyrant in my household, but yeah. Like, yeah.
Theoretically, you're a
Theoretically,
tyrant.
yeah.
So if you're a good person and you're a tyrant, then things go really well because you control all of the facets.
Yeah.
Right. In direct democracy, then you have people that are able to make decisions because of the number of them that make poor decisions. And the rest of the people there have to suffer the dumb people that are voting in that democracy.
Yeah.
So if you have a noble, smart tyrant, it's an amazing option.
I'm the tyrant.
But you're a good one.
You're a child. I know it's in your best interest. I make decisions that are good for you.
Yes. And so the democracy is you might be outvoted and we have chocolate cake for dinner every day for 1 year, right?
Yeah.
And they weren't thinking through the repercussions and the things that happen. They were thinking about dinner, cake. That's good.
Yes.
I like that, right?
Yeah.
Now that noble tyrant, if they would have just wielded their muscle, they would have talked out what people want into something that made better sense. And then when there are repercussions, right, that everybody is sickly because all they did was eat freaking cake and out of money because cake is more expensive than, regular, food.
Yeah.
Now it's too late because now the tyrant has to say, describe and narrate what already happened rather than stop the thing that didn't happen yet from occurring. So we dislike bad tyrants. We really like noble tyrants.
Yeah. We want people to tell us what to do in a good way.
Yeah. All right. So let me scale it up.
Okay.
In your household, would it be pretty easy to create a noble tyrant?
Yeah.
Okay. How about your neighborhood? So you elect the person that has ultimate say so. Would it be easy to elect a noble tyrant in your HOA?
Maybe.
Would it be easy to elect a noble tyrant in your city?
Probably not.
Would you be able to elect a noble tyrant in your state?
No.
Would you be able to elect a noble tyrant in your country?
No.
Okay. So where is a noble tyrant? Well, why is it easier to HOA noble tyrant than federal government?
Smaller, fewer people.
Yes. And you can knock down a noble tyrant when you have smaller groups.
Yeah.
Right. If you have a church meeting and Janice, what the hell, Janice? Janice brings the snacks, right?
Yeah.
And maybe Janice did good for a little while, and then Janice started really just going to Giant Eagle and picking up whatever was on the rack, and she's really shirking her duties. Is it super easy to take the power away from Janice at the church meeting?
Janice, you're fired.
Janice is a bitch.
Damn it, Janice.
Anyway, let's read some comments because I haven't even been looking. Anything good? This is going back a little bit.
Man, yeah. People mistake education for Facebook rabbit holes.
You know what? I love Facebook rabbit holes. I really do. If you have a good filter for believing not, like I can watch a really well done documentary on something that I know is complete BS and leave it thinking, holy shit, that was persuasive. If I didn't know anything about it, they were good. They were good at presenting.
I've seen reels where there's a voiceover and we've all heard it. Like we've all heard these standard like AI voices that are just in everything. There's like a man's voiceover that people have used over what looks like a scientific fact. Research has shown that blah, 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 blah can cause blah, 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 blah. And it looks totally legit. I would believe it. Oh my God, I can't believe we found. And then you realize like, that's totally fake. It's totally like somebody made that. Not a research team, not a scientist, not a doctor. Joe Schmo in his mom's basement made that. And it looks and sounds totally legit.
Yep.
So how do you know? How do you know what's real and what's not? How do you know if it was factual information? If you see a reel of a doctor talking about something, how do you know they're actually a doctor?
Well, even worse, like if you had a research finding from captured researchers that were about consensus, is that not the same thing? They wanted you to believe it. They packaged up with a bunch of authority behind it. They put on their white coats and they sold it to you.
Yeah.
That's where snake oil came from.
Oh, yeah. You can take all kinds of like factual information that is true and take it completely out of context. And they'll be like, look, this means this. Look, that's what it says. And you're like, yeah, but no, you don't even know like why they were doing that. That you took this is so full of holes and people don't know. You have 7 seconds to look at a bit of information and run with it.
And that's where fully developed curiosities should be an integral part of education. Not memorization, because now you watch that thing. And if you're a trained memorizer, all you're going to do is take the thing that you saw that had maybe threads of factual information and put it in your memorization chamber and then parrot it out to me and watch me destroy. So it makes my life easier, because the more dumb people they are that are just, repeating things that they heard other people say, I go from logic. You know what logic is? Logic starts from 0 on every engagement, right? It doesn't come from prefab anything. I go from beginning. Now, the world in its sophisticated nature means that you have to have a starting point where you use somebody else's work, right? Or else you're reinventing your conclusions on a regular basis. So it takes longer to come to your conclusions than when somebody is like, all right, I don't know how to feel about this thing. Let me go listen to, Maddow or Shapiro, figure out what I should believe. And then I just adopt what they feel and it comes out of my mouth and I sound smart. But when a person like me gets in the ring with you, you don't have premise based on what you think you believe, unless you outwardly say, I didn't know anything about this until I heard Rachel Maddow say, and now I know everything that Rachel Maddow knows.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Your authority drops right there.
Yeah. Typically when I bring up something, I'll think, hey, I just saw this. I've not yet seen what the other side is saying. Because that's like, if I find something, I'm like, what? Really? Wow. Wait a minute. What would they say about this? What's their take on it? And I might get the other take on it and go, oh no, I still agree with this. Mm-hmm. You are just dumb or whatever.
Yeah. But when you collect data from other people, you have to have a filter, like a learned specialty and skill, to be able to take information and figure out if it's truthful or not. And because we're lazy and we're apathetic, we just take the person that we recognize their name and feels like us, and whatever they tell us that we agree with, we're super easy to believe. So if I took a Republican and a Democrat and said, Trump went on a binge meth thing this weekend. If I asked both of those people, one would be eager to believe it and one would have defenses against it right from get-go. You know what I would do? I would want to know more. I have a curiosity because I don't care if he did and care if he didn't. I just want to know what the truth is. I'm not starting from a position where I want one of those two pieces of information to win or lose. I just want to know what the truth is.
Yeah. I have a question, and this is going back to when we were talking about taboo words and saying things and, taking the power away from stuff if it's not true and whatever. Would you say you have dark humor?
Yes.
So how do you describe the ability to tell a joke that is dark and also not encompass names you could be called for telling that joke? Like racist jokes. Can you tell a racist joke and not actually be a racist?
Yes.
Can you joke about something tragic and also feel that event was very tragic?
Yes.
That's something that is so interesting to me. Is like, I have dark humor and I'll find humor in something having actual no real stock and feeling that way. Like have you ever heard the expression people say, well, dark humor is just like 10% truth. And that's where the joke is. Or do you think it could be like, no, there's no truth to that whatsoever. It's a funny thing to say because there's no truth to it.
Well, you could look up at the sky, right? And you could see what a cloud looks like something else, right? We're really good at that, at pattern recognition in society, right? Mm-hmm. So if you said that, let's make a Jewish joke, right? Okay, so why are Jewish jokes, like when I grew up, they always were the same theme? What's the Jewish stereotype?
It's like that they're cheap or frugal or something. Okay. Yeah.
And so if I made a joke about that frugality, then I would just be reinforcing the stereotype of what Jews are like. So then, in true science fashion, you'd have to go out to the data world and find out if there's an origin of that being true. And you look and see that any business that required someone who had good accounting, frugal mindset became really wealthy in financial sectors. They became involved in other industries. And so if there's an origin to the tale, right, then you're just pointing out an obvious stereotype that is rooted in that 10% fact that exists.
Yeah.
And it's funny that way. That's what we've always done.
Yeah, we were talking with a friend over the weekend who's a firefighter. And my husband was like, "Oh, I watch the movies. I see TV. You have your 24-hour shifts where you guys are just playing cards and eating and hanging out." And he's like, no, it's work. We're working. And he's like, "Nah, I see you guys just hang out all day at the firehouse till it's time to go home." And even though he's done this for years, I was like, "Have you ever fought a fire before?" And we're just taking digs. And I felt the need to stop and be like, "I hope you know, we in no way believe what we're saying here. Like, I know you are a hard worker."
So socially, why do we do that?
Funny. I don't know. Why do we tell the joke, or why do we feel the need to explain
Like
it?
if you're the new guy on a blue collar job, you're going to get effed with on day one.
Yeah.
Why would they F with you on day one?
I think some people use it to sort of like build morale and camaraderie and see if you can handle it. Like, are you going to fit in here? Do you also have humor like us? Because if you don't, there's going to be a little bit of a barrier, like
in a
boundary.
workplace that you're dependent on the people that you work with. So with a new guy coming in, you don't know if they're a danger or not.
Yeah.
So the pecking order and finding out if there's someone too soft to be strong when it counts. And blue collar jobs usually deal with more strength than intelligence or mental capacity. So feeling you out to see if you're strong enough to be on their crew.
Yeah.
So they're going to hit you with things that are hard to hear to see if you buckle and leave, which they're okay with that. Or if you're like, F these people, I could throw it out just like I am. And when you throw it out, like they threw it at you and it wasn't effective the other direction, it just showed, yep, you're strong enough. You filled that hole. Is it meaner than it needs to be? Yes, but that's only because it's in that realm. If I went, let's just say I feel like I'm not an academic, but I'm probably more brilliant than people that are academics. So if I went in the room, right, and I started laying down and I wanted to be respected amongst my peers. I'm this guy that's self-taught, did all of my learning on my own. And would I have enemies in that room that went to college and got their, traditional education? Yeah. So what would they do? They'd do a version of the blue collar new guy to this self-taught person. Do you think they would be mean to me? Do you think they would be belittling? Do you think that they would have me like prove myself out worthy to be in that room? Absolutely. But they would be doing it in a different way.
Yeah.
They're pushing against my softness. And if I'm soft, I'm going to cry. If I'm really as strong as I think that I am, I'm going to own all of them and they're going to see it in a different way. But every order, every social group has a pecking order where somebody is at the top of that pecking order and someone is at the very bottom of that pecking order. And it's a way that we've invented of orienting ourselves with people who should be above and below us. It's the merit of what makes human beings human.
So if we have words that are taboo and you shouldn't say them, or like Julie said, like, "Oh, I get the willies even talking about this. We're not supposed to be talking about this." You could sort of say the same thing about dark humor and telling jokes that are like, "Oh, someone's going to hear that and think I'm a terrible person," or whatever. You had said you don't even say the N-word because that's still just too explosive of a word.
Which N-word are you talking about, by the way?
I think you know.
Oh, damn it.
There's only one. Is there another one?
Listen, I just wanted just enough doubt to see if you would say it accidentally, and then we can clip
No!
that. So, damn it. Okay, go ahead.
Is there anything you would never joke about? Like, oh, off limits. Like, why do we have an off limit word, but not off limit dark humor jokes? Or do we?
I don't. I mean, my sense of humor is sarcasm and really highbrow stuff. I like irony. And so when I tell a joke, there are certain people who wouldn't know what I mean by it. And there's some people who I surround myself with like, "That was funny, Joe."
Yeah.
And so I orient my humor as there's never anything disparaging. I don't think there's been more ideas than people type of thing. But I know there are dumber people than me that don't have real good ideas. And so they only talk about people. And in that creating jokes around people, you're going to bring stereotypes and those categorizations. They're going to mean your humor is going to be more about people than ideas. Yeah, dumb people, they tell too many jokes that are dark.
Dumb people tell too many jokes that are dark.
I have dark humor, but it's really never about people.
Do you have an example of a dark humor joke that's not about people?
All right, so like bad things happening. So I would never want somebody to be thrown off of a building, right?
Yeah.
But if I make a joke about somebody being thrown off of a building, that is very dark that somebody lost their life hypothetically in my brain.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So if the football coach made a bad call and that team should put him on the top of the building and throw him off, that's pretty dark.
Yeah. But can it still be made funny?
Yes, it's always funny if I say it. It's very funny.
Like I used to work for a guy who was of a certain race, and he and I both could joke and have some humor. And I made a joke involving his background, not at him, in general. And he found it funny because it was. Mm-hmm. And he knows I don't hold any ill will about him, his background, anyone else of that background. This person knows you in no way actually feel that way. Yeah. But it was funny.
Yeah. Well, even like South Park early on with Charlie Kirk, right?
Yeah.
They lampooned Charlie Kirk and made fun of him, right? And he took what they made fun of him about and high-fived. Like, that was so funny. Same thing with JD Vance, the starring character, and he embraced it and said that was funny because he can handle it. You take a protected class and make fun of them in that same deal, they no longer appreciate the funniness of that joke, but now you've undermined their social cause of making me a stereotype and that's where counterculture pushes on those limits. I would much rather make fun of someone who's going to react poorly to it, because that's even funnier than the person who will like high-five me after I made fun of him, because that's not even worth it.
Yeah.
It didn't create any change.
So just as some people are saying, oh, we should bring these certain words back, are they also going to be like, we should be able to joke about this?
Yes. I think comedy is terrible. There's only probably a handful of comedians that can say things, make fun of something, and it still be a joke. So for instance, if you take a comedian that, you like their kind of content and they threw some kind of transgender joke out there, something that hit you that thought, man, you're looking around the room to make sure it's okay to laugh kind of a joke. Would you feel differently about that person if they were like, dude, my job is to joke? And that was a joke. And
I am a comedian.
Sometimes I'm going to make fun of you. Sometimes I'm going to be making fun of that guy. You got to be cool no matter what it is. My job is to make you laugh.
Because sometimes the most like shocking is what makes it funny.
Exactly.
The whole idea of I can't believe you said that is why it's funny.
Well, when you watch like North Korea and you watch Kim Jong-il, right? Or Un, or whichever one is in power now.
Yeah.
And you're like, that dude, if anybody disagrees with him, he kills them. Like, he offs them.
Yeah.
Right? And when you watch him, would you feel right about walking up to him and telling him a joke if the downside was that you were being murdered? You would watch like, you remember Greatest Showman?
Yeah.
You remember Queen Elizabeth meeting and the little dude walked up and he made that joke, and everybody awkwardly looked around to see, I wonder if the Queen's going to find this funny. And she started laughing, and then everybody else thought, I guess it's okay to laugh. And everybody started laughing. That's where we're at right now is we might find it funny, but we don't even want to acknowledge that it was funny in front of other people if they didn't find it was funny. And I'm saying screw that.
Because I think that the whole pendulum swing is in the culture of you can't say words and you can't use certain terms and you can't offend anyone. In that same vein, you got painted as if you told this joke and you found that funny, you are the racist, the bigot, the Nazi, the whatever, the homophobe, you are this terrible person because you must feel that way.
Yeah.
And now we're sort of going back to like, I don't have to embody that term to find the humor
Right.
in the darkness of what you just said.
Right. And that's where the counterculturalists are important, because their whole job is to push against the status quo no matter what it is. You don't want me to say that word, I'm going to say that word. We want to say that global warming is man-made, I'm going to say the actual opposite, and force you to not just stand in your brigade of people who agree with you. I'm saying defend yourself against what I just pushed back on you. And I'm going to take all these group of other mindless people. I'm going to push on you just for the sake of pushing against you and put you in a position where you feel as awkward as I do. It's true value.
Lou says, Kelin Flis for Vice President 2028. Well, then who's president? You?
Not me. I will not be your president. I'm sorry.
Would you put any stock in a Joe Danyi president, Kelin Flis vice president, America?
We would decimate. We would decimate.
Yeah?
Oh, we would be awesome. I know your capabilities and you know my capabilities. We would be ruthless.
I probably put trust in your capabilities more so than mine.
Yeah, but you are Rip, and Rip is amazing, and everybody needs a Rip. Every great literature, it works literature, always has a Rip, and it always has a Caesar.
Yeah. Well, you're John Dutton.
Okay, that's me.
And I'm Rip.
You ever see James Garfield story? You ever look into it?
No.
Oh, you gotta look into James Garfield. I took the weekend to study into an Ohio president. What was really cool is that he was a congressman, and he went to the Republican convention where they were sort of nominating who was going to run for president. James Garfield actually went there to rep a different guy who was actually running. And by the end of the convention, he was actually voted as the nomination against his will. And that was like the coolest thing. Like, I think we need to have more presidents who don't really even want the job. And the only reason they got it is because they shared their ideals and they were able to wrangle it away from the people who don't even
want you.
No, I'm not. I know better now.
Sounds like you.
I am not going to become a congressman, and I'm not going to go to the convention because the risk of then becoming president against your will is on the table.
Was Garfield the one who lived in that house in Poland? The real nice, big, on the corner of like 170, like when you pass the Poland Library on your left and you're going
Is there a Garfield house up there? I never knew.
Is that Garfield, or is that somebody help me? That might not have been Garfield. That might have been somebody else. That really beautiful old house right on the corner by the stoplight of the Bend.
I don't know. I'm going to look into it, because if we've got some history on Garfield, that would be amazing.
I don't know if it was Garfield, but there was was it Roosevelt? Not Roosevelt. Somebody look into it. No. McKinley.
There you go.
Thank you,
yeah,
John.
McKinley,
Flis.
there's a bunch of McKinley history.
McKinley, that house. I want to go in there and see that.
Yeah.
It looks beautiful.
That's another great story to look into. But Garfield was assassinated, so that's probably not my best example of people going into office that don't even really want to be there. Is that
yeah, that's why I don't want to run. You run that risk for sure.
You think there's people not going to like you no matter what you do or say? Do you think 50% of the people are going to vilify you?
I mean, it's possible. I guess somebody somewhere might not like
If
me.
you're not a good vice president, I'm going to vilify you. So you better be on the straight and narrow.
Okay.
All right, let's get out of here. We'll catch you guys tomorrow. Have a good one.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. This is original Youngstown content. Feel free to share our videos and tell your friends about us. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and